as you do that, you see that several of the other patrons have actually been watching you with awe at your gastronomical skill, and they are, kind of not making fun, but kind of like enjoying watching you fucking go through food like this. And as you raise your mug, they all do the same and let out a loud cheer, and you realize you've got some kind of fans watching you.
Kampai!
Um, so over at the workshop, Ren, the food arrives and it takes you a moment to realize somebody's knocking on the door, but you finally do. You've just kind of gotten into your comfort zone. And as you kick into high gear, you're just taking small like bites out of your meal here and there as you're able to. But you start pulling apart some of these components and start making some real progress, and you feel like this is time well spent for the first time in quite a while. You start coming up with some concepts that you think are going to be very helpful in the future, and some of these components that you're starting to really dig into, especially the fragments of the orbs, are starting to yield some really interesting results. And after cleaning a lot of the contacts and the different materials up, you're realizing that there's going to be a lot more opportunities for integration with the other tech that you're working on that you had first thought. You feel like you get a long way to kind of reverse engineering quite a bit of the tech that they're using, and you do indeed see a lot of signs of your family's kind of tech signature in what they're using, reconfirming the concept that you had come to earlier of the new Kenora tech seeming to
Well,
be
I still have one of the orbs intact. Only one was destroyed.
Yes. You're definitely seeing that the new Kenora tech is very, very closely linked to your family's kind of signature tech. And you would guess, after getting a little more work done, that you would probably be able to use some of the more stock and standard components that you're used to in order to completely kind of refabricate and manufacture these things to kind of suit your purposes. This essentially means that you're going to be able to skip several steps in the fabrication process between where you're at and where you need to be to just straight up build these things at will. So that's
Excellent.
really, really good news. You also realize that you're going to be able to use these as a kind of universal platform for quite a bit of different uses. You don't think you're going to be able to use these as projectile dispensers. The weight constraints for being able to levitate are going to be pretty severe, and it almost exclusively kind of relegates these things to needing to be for kind of observation purposes and sensory purposes, or for some kind of energy manipulation. You probably aren't ever going to have these things holding like a machine gun or missiles.
Oh, that
Does
is
that make sense?
Never my intent, but yeah, totally fine and totally understand that. Yeah.
Excellent. So with those stipulations going forward, it looks like this is going to be a hell of a nice foundation for what you were wanting to build. Um, we're going to come back to a couple of other things you figure out. A comma, as your day goes forward, and you get your workout going, you're able to, after some calisthenics and everything that you're doing, just kind of like for bodybuilding and training. Once you start getting into combat training and you start doing some shadow boxing, you notice that several more patrons have showed up and are using the facilities. They are all starting to kind of watch you. Once you basically, will say, you've taken your shirt off and you're actually starting like real, you're actually working out. And as you're standing there, your Atlantean physique is picking up the sun as you start to sweat. And you basically look like a comic book character, like shadow boxing in the middle of a big open kind of sand pit. The other combatants have kind of since retired after kind of gassing out after 20 30 minutes of sparring, and a lot of the people that had been working out earlier are now sitting around the kind of sand pit where you're residing, doing your shadow boxing. You would say that there's probably a dozen, maybe more, a few more people, all kind of circled around, just kind of watching you. And as you switch over to some strike training, you find that there is indeed a post that's made of basically mega damage wood that's been uh, turned mega damage by the Iron Bark spell. And this piece of wood seems to be planted in the ground with some large mega damage shock springs, like truck bed springs, that are tightly coiled and they go out horizontally on a kind of brace on the ground. And with this setup, it essentially allows huge amounts of impact to strike where the large kind of mega damage leather padding is across most of this large post. You can strike this post and have it yield with the force of mega damage blows so that it doesn't have to just constantly be replaced. When you see this, you're actually pretty excited because with this, you can practice all manner of kicks, elbows, punches, all that kind of stuff. You just have to not deliberately try and tear the thing apart because you could if you wanted to. Um, as you start all of this up, your rhythm starts kind of improving. You start getting in that zone, and with some of the ancient Atlantean teachings of not only combat but philosophy and mental discipline kicking in, you're able to kind of slip into that zone where real growth can happen with one's martial arts. And as you kind of get into that zone, you stop hearing and listening and seeing everything around you. And as you kind of come back out after a little while, you realize that you've been doing a pretty good job. Everything's been going pretty well. You've really been fucking drilling this thing, and your muscles are starting to feel it just a little bit. You're definitely getting a good workout in. But as you stop, you realize it's because there's somebody behind you yelling something. And as you turn around, you see that this individual is actually standing there, no book in hand, but he's just standing there with his hands folded behind his back, looking at you very respectfully from about 5 feet away behind you. Um, and as you turn around and notice him for the first time, he just nods at you very simply and he says, "If I may." And he holds two fingers up, kind of like in a symbol of, "Would you mind if I approach?"
Oh, hey, yeah, what's going on?
Okay, as you look around, you now see that there's at least 25, 30 people all gathered around, completely silent, sitting kind of like on their butts or cross legged, all just kind of in awe watching you. Okay. Um,
What the hell?
as you as you say that, he nods at you and he just walks forward very slowly. He steps around you over to the post, and as he does so, he grabs his, the kind of the bottom of his tunic that's kind of skirt like. He grabs with one hand and flourishes and wraps it around his forearm so that it won't be in his way. And you see that the armor that he's wearing below is all, most of it looks like just probably some kind of mega damaged leather that's been fashioned. It's all very simple, unassuming, and some of it looks to be just simple cloth, even. Um, but he takes up a position, a kind of a combat ready stance, and with that extra cloth out of the way, he leans back very slowly, brings his leg and knee uh, cocked back to his butt, so his heel of his front leg is up against his butt with his knee sticking out. And as he lifts that leg into the air, he slowly makes a snapping motion coming up over the top in what you recognize as a question mark kick. Now, this is something that you had been practicing a little bit earlier, but when you're seeing this apparently human being do it, you notice that he's got this style of it's much more of two very separate motions instead of the more unified version that you had been trying a moment ago. And when he shows you this slowed down version, even though it's not quite what you had learned in your training over the years, you realize the benefits of it immediately. He looks back and sees the recognition in your eyes and kind of nods a little, and he repeats the same thing like 2 or 3 times. Then he steps back and respectfully kind of holds his hands up, kind of like, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to show you this. And he just kind of steps back and then kind of points towards the post to see if you'd care to go ahead and mimic. And as you do right away, boom, you nail it the very first time. You bring your knee up and your foot comes over in an arcing swing downward that lends so much extra power, you feel like if you really tried, you could slice right through that beam.
Oh yeah.
You repeat
Oh
this a
yeah.
couple of times and then switch stances to try with the other leg. And after this, you throw in a couple of snap kicks and then follow them with the question mark kicks, and start throwing in some knees and elbows and different things, all just to kind of get the fluidity down. And you definitely realize you made some real progress with this. Within 2 minutes, you stop and turn around to see that individual has already disappeared and is gone now. You do notice that everybody's still watching you with great interest, but they're all kind of way too scared to say anything or whatever. But they're all like giving each other fist bumps and high fives and shit every time you fucking make the post like thunder with the sound of the impacts that you're striking it with. So, um,
Nice.
all right, so you make some real progress moving towards your martial arts developing with that. Um, what else? Okay, Ymir, you're on your third ale.
Real quick, question mark kick. Is that when you bring up the knee and then flick out the leg after?
Yeah, you're kind of
Like it
doing.
starts like you're throwing like a high knee and then you flick the.
Yeah, it's kind of like a side kick, and then after the knee is up, you whip the heel
Yeah.
up and
Okay.
over in kind of an arc and bring it all down.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
great
just
for
wanted to
getting
get
over
a
shoulders.
visual.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so you're on your third ale, and it's still not really touching you at all. But all of the food, especially the nice heavy greasy food, is starting to definitely make you feel a little bit better. You're also noticing that there is some kind of human delicacy called lemon water that seems to be a real treat. They keep bringing you these little dishes of something called lemon water with little lemon slices in it, and you notice other people seem to be rinsing their fingers in it. You don't know why they do that because it's absolutely delicious. So you're just downing it, crunching on the lemons and everything. Um,
Logic checks out.
you notice that the ale is starting to taste a little more smooth, and you wouldn't mind, maybe having one more if you do say so yourself. You do notice that uh, old Snaggletongue is seeming to hover close. He hasn't gotten within like 30, 40 feet yet, but you do notice that throughout the day, he seems to be paying very close attention to you. And he's come over and ordered food like 5 times since you've been there, but it's always just like a little tiny item that's like a handful. And he'll walk off and kind of munch on it and then be back after, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Um, and he keeps kind of openly looking at you, but then just kind of slipping away before in any way like really confronting you or talking to you. Um, all right, some more time goes on. Ymir is wanting to stay there and just kind of keep eating and relaxing, or
Um, no, after that final ale, that's when Ymir will settle up being full and kind of recentered himself. He's not as nearly upset as he was, and he's just trying to get some fresh air. He realizes that Snaggletooth has been around all day. His eyes have darted to him every time he's approached. He's noticed him, but he's literally paid him no mind because his own mental state has not allowed him to even engage with anything else.
Okay. All right.
So Ymir graciously thanks the bartender and graciously thanks the wait staff for all they did for him, and then he asks for the tab or signs, like, how much do I owe you?
As the kobold waiter comes up and you ask him, he kind of looks nervously back over at what you're now realizing is his wife. And as she looks at him, she kind of furrows her brow, almost pissed, like, go on and tell him. And he kind of looks defeated and kind of nods his head a couple of times, and he turns towards you and he just makes a symbol of, he claps one open hand, one open palm on his forearm, and then just sweeps a flat open palm forward in front of him, kind of like it's on the cuff, it's on the house. And he points around quickly, and you realize that you being here eating has generated a lot of business. They're like, the place is damn near full, and people are just amazed at watching you down all of this food. And so his wife is apparently a pretty good businesswoman and insists on passing it along. So it's all gratis today for you. All right. So what would you like to do?
Wish that happened in real life, dude. That'd be awesome.
Well, yeah, you imagine Ymir size, the amount of food that actually was. Yeah, that's Ymir realizing what the Cobalt waiter is telling him. He is sort of taken back to his normal self because of this sort of selfless act from this very small being. Like, for him, he was just trying to deal with something that was weighing very heavily on his psyche. He was just trying to drown his sorrows like any other patron. So to see that kind of generosity or extension of goodwill sort of makes him snap back out of that sort of malaise that he has, and he nods very, very graciously at the waiter and towards his wife behind the counter, knowing that she's the real powerhouse behind the whole thing, obviously, given the body language.
As you look up at her and nod, her face completely brightens up, and it's kind of ghastly because she literally looks like a lizard, like a humanoid lizard. And as her smile gets huge and toothy, you see her hold her hands up kind of in an excited shake, and she kind of waves you over to the kind of grill area where she's set up, hoping that you'll come over there for a moment.
Ymir, following her hand gestures, obliges her and follows along.
Okay, so as you walk over there, she pulls out this little device that looks like some kind of strange, almost like a hexagonal, clear glass sphere. It's got angles and planes on it, but it's roughly spherical. And as she picks it up, she just lets it go, and it just gently bobs and floats up into the air, kind of lazily. And then after 2 or 3 seconds, it seems to kind of snap to attention and begin focusing. And it spins around and it kind of orbits around you for 1 or 2 passes, and then around her. And then she points over at the rear wall to the building behind you guys. And you see that on this wall, there's it just says the Cobalt Diner in what you would guess are dozens of different languages. It's kind of like a big mural that just says it in every language you understand, in every kind of symbology that you
Yep.
understand. And because of your guys' racial paradigms, gobbly is actually what they speak. So there are enough symbols for you to really latch onto this. And essentially, it's just called the Cobalt Diner, and she waves you over and asks you to basically come take a picture next to this mural with their cafe logo on it, just for promotional reasons. You can see in her eyes that she looks. It's kind of like looking at a child asking you to buy lemonade at its lemonade
Mm-hmm.
stand on a warm Saturday.
Kid
So it's up to
eyes,
you.
big kid eyes, like you
Yeah.
said,
Oh
lemonade
yeah.
stand. Yeah, gotcha. Well, Ymir, seeing this, acknowledging her and what she wants, would be, even though he's typically opposed to these kind of things, he feels a real sense of, you did me a great service by providing your hospitality to me when I needed it. So he kind of proudly says, yeah, he nods his head like, yeah, let's go ahead. And he sort of poses with his hammer. He drops the big hammer down where it's just vertical in his hand, but the massive shaft of the hammer is rested on the ground. The head is still facing up, and he stands there for the photo underneath the um, Goblin Cafe
Awesome. Awesome.
advertisement.
All right. So as you stand near the wall and kind of set up for the picture, um, she kind of runs over at the last second and kind of stands down by the base of your hammer just to kind of get in there as well. And you see that this kind of troubles her husband. He looks a little dejected,
Or
but he's okay.
see,
But he's okay.
seeing that Ymir picks her up and puts him on his shoulder for the
Nice.
photo opportunity.
All right, so as you do this, he gets all happy as well. It starts. He looks like somebody from the fucking Super Mario Kingdom. He's all fucking joyful. So he's all happy. All right, the glass camera like object glows and pulses between red, yellow, and then finally on green. It pulses very brightly, and you can tell that it's taken some kind of picture. And at this, it floats back over to her as she collects it very preciously and gingerly, wanting to make sure that she can save this precious data. And she's instantly kind of off, heading back over towards the grill and getting ready to place this thing on its dock to start manipulating the image. The husband looks over at you and he reaches up this tiny little coffee cup size hand to kind of shake your hand, almost like you've definitely earned his respect by including him.
Ymir puts one finger out so the
Give him the
Goblin can
All right.
pinky.
shake his
It
Give him the
barely cups the
pinky.
front of your finger. So all right,
Right, exactly.
so he does that, and you pretty much get all wrapped up. Everybody claps and is all happy and excited at this exchange and seeing you doing a little bit of advertisement for the business. And like I said, there's a pretty
Ymir,
decent little crowd. You see lots of little handheld devices flashing and stuff, and you guess they're taking pictures as well. So
yeah, Ymir just gives him that big bear grin. First time that he smiled in a very long time. But the interaction between having the goblin shake his finger genuinely made him smile. Genuinely crack through, even if it was just for that split second. Generally crack through the malaise, and yeah, a big bear grin escapes his lips right before he makes his way out, or makes his way towards going outside.
go
Once
ahead,
he gets, oh, go ahead.
go ahead and roll a perception check for me.
Yes, sir. Let's see. Oh, I already had it up. There you go.
Okay. All right. As you're getting ready to head out in this moment of joy, as you're smiling finally, feeling a little bit relaxed and like
Sense.
some endorphins are starting to kick in
Right.
finally. You hear a kind of snap of a twig from a distance away, and something puts you on alert. And as you pivot and spin quickly and narrow your eyes, you're able to catch a flash of your mighty companion Wotek up on a small hill behind some cover, kind of just surreptitiously spying upon you as you've been eating this whole time. And you notice that as he sees you smile, and then you look over and see him, he quickly darts behind a large statue and retreats behind like a stone wall back to wherever he was hanging out before. But you can tell that he has indeed been just kind of basically like staying in eye shot and kind of like watching over you.
Okay.
All right.
I was just about to ask, as Ymir steps out of the establishment, can I scan around for signs of Snaggletooth or Snaggletongue, see if his presence is around or if he's skulking around somewhere in the shadows near me? Because
As
Ymir has noticed his little pass.
as
But
you start looking around, indeed, he's over in a shop close to you. He's in the window inside the shop looking out at you. And as he sees you looking over at him, he quickly like goes behind a rack of goods and disappears.
disappears, so I could make a beeline towards him to
No, you'd have to go
confront.
around to the front of the building. You're basically at the rear of the building.
Understood.
So and
Understood.
you're not sure that this is more of like a human-sized gift shop. You're not sure if you'd even,
Understood.
you know.
So noticing him keeping having my instincts go off like that and keeping my eye on him, I sort of just file it away and rejoin my compatriots, like where Akama is, within eye shot of where Akama is, and during his whole exchange, I want to head back there.
Okay. You start heading over to the exercise area. Do we have comms for you guys? You guys haven't picked up comms yet, have you?
No, we have not.
No.
We haven't been able to purchase anything besides that one shop at the bar, which the guy was selling trading and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
We have not been to a single shop, so we haven't.
All right. This is gonna be good. All right. So
I hate to interrupt, but I have to go now. It's
oh, do you?
my time's up.
Sorry about that. I thought we had another half an hour for some reason.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's 10 till 4. Yeah, he's
My bad. My
No,
bad.
that's fine. I'm sorry for
No,
for having to end it.
that's no problem at all, man. Yeah, we can wrap it right there. And we will be back next week with more thrills and chills. So you guys tune in. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. And now, bow your head for the patrons. BKZJT, Rapid 3642. Andy Sasa, Nova Rose, Kelly T, Tommy Gunn. Lazy 24 Colts, Jess H. It's. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com /homegrown lore. Thank you.